What's going on, Sarasota? You know, we're coming back to you with another great guest. This one's exciting because if you're watching this, you might be having some of the same questions that I'm going to have for Mrs. Andrea Saputo. But Andrea Saputo, the owner of Gold Coast Eagle Distribution. So it's likely if you've bought a beer, a malt liquor, a soda, even like water from any convenience store or bar in the Sarasota area, probably went through Gold Coast Eagle Distribution. So we've got an exciting one for you here. We're going to learn all about the business and kind of the generational business that it was. So thanks for joining us today, Andrea, and we're excited to have you.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here. Thanks for the invite.
Well, the first thing that I want to touch on, because we obviously know that this is what, fourth generation, you said, right?
It is fourth generation.
So fourth generation. So I'm imagining, like, 4 generations ago, your families were hauling like, moonshine through the Tennessee mountains or something. That's how you get into the distribution business, right?
It was, but it was up in the Detroit area.
Was
so
it
up
really?
in the Michigan area is
like
where it started.
Urban bootlegging.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm just making a joke, and
So
here it is. It's real.
Is there a little bootlegging history there?
There's a little not talked about too much, but it definitely was in the distribution industry before Prohibition.
Okay.
And then after Prohibition, because they were already in the distribution area, they were able to receive rights to distribute some malt liquor after that. So that's kind of where it started, which was my great-great-great-grandfather, then my great-grandfather.
So what year was that?
Well, Prohibition was 1920s, so prior to that.
Late 20s.
Yeah.
The roaring 20s.
And
And
then
I mean,
it came
you're
back
acting
in
like I should know this. I'm not a history buff. That's
Read
why
it.
we have
Yeah.
Felipe.
I'm not a history.
So just to kind of give you the lay of the land, this side of the table, we ask the uneducated questions, right, for the listeners and the viewers that might have the same, stance. Felipe, you're not going to tell him anything he doesn't probably already know about,
that's
he's
not
got a more
true.
educated stance on most things.
I ask lots of stupid questions. I just try to make it not in public and not around you guys, because there's plenty of those
You're
to go
prepared.
around.
And not for the interwebs.
You're very well prepared.
Well, Trey's always got a list. He loves the business questions, so we'll get into that. But let me first kind of on camera explain a little bit more about Sarasota SpeaX. The concept of what we're doing here is we want to introduce town and the area to the interesting people kind of behind the scenes who they might not know, but who they need to know. And the reason we want to do that is because Sarasota has this stereotype of being kind of like an older, affluent retirement community, which obviously we have, but we have a lot of other things too. And we want to kind of shine the light on those business leaders and just leaders and interesting people generally. So we definitely thought of you.
I appreciate that.
And I loved the Business Observer article. Not that I like plugging other
you.
media sources, but it was a really great piece.
I did.
Yeah, we are a media source, so we don't plug the other ones. I love that he just said that. That's so good.
That article was
like
so
we're
good.
competing
But
with
he
Business
did.
Observer now.
Yeah,
We're
100%.
I was recognized in Publix today.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Before we get into Andrea's story, Trey's got a great one for you. He was actually recognized in public from the podcast.
Yeah, I walked into a store and I'm decked out in my strong roofing gear, and a young lady came up to me and was like, "Oh, I know you." And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm the strong roofer." That's what I was thinking. But she's like, "No, I know you from Sarasota SpeaX. I follow you on Instagram." So it was unrelated to. And
that was the highlight of the day, possibly the week.
She organically found us on the internet, so that's pretty cool.
Well, get used to it, buddy. I was watching the Jake Paul documentary on Netflix, and the Logan and Jake Paul story, and I saw the interview when he was first interviewed by paparazzi, and I thought, man, that's going to be me soon. Like,
pretty soon.
I'm not even be able to walk these streets in Sarasota. Everyone's gonna be like, "Hey, that's Brad from Sarasota SpeaX.
Yeah,
we
but-
saw Andrea on there too."
It's 120 degrees. No one can walk these streets right now, right?
That's a good
Well,
point.
Agreed.
crazy.
Very agreed.
So the spotlight's on you,
Sure.
not us. We love what we're doing. We're having fun, like we said, and it's just a kind of a more casual environment. But how long has Gold Coast Eagle been in the Sarasota community?
So we've been here, my family has been here about 25 years. Purchased a distributorship 25 years ago, and has been here. From before that, we were up in the North Carolina area.
Is this home base?
It is home base. We do have a sister distributorship up in Ohio.
Okay.
That one we've had for about 10 years now, 10 years now. So
you've been in the business for 4 generations, and explain to me what you mean when you purchased one.
well, it's a little bit different to get into the industry. It's kind of hard. A lot of them are always passed down from family generations. So with
Is there a
Anheuser,
finite amount of them, or?
there are, but they're consolidating. The big kind of trend right now is consolidation with a lot of the wholesalers. But to get into it, you have to be certified as an Anheuser-Busch wholesaler. So you have to meet criteria that they say that you need to meet. Some of it's financial, obviously, but a lot of it is performance and leadership. financial backing, those type of things before they say, yes, you can have a distribution rights. So prior to coming with Anheuser-Busch as our primary distributor, my dad was with Coors and other brands. So from there, he had to go out and basically give his resume to Anheuser-Busch and say, hey, listen, I'd like to be a distributor, which he did. So he started out in Raleigh, North Carolina, and then he ended up in Rocky Mount, North Carolina, where he became the Anheuser-Busch distributor there.
Okay.
From there, he wanted to grow because it's a smaller market. Sarasota market was for sale, so he sold his business up there and then bought the one down in Sarasota.
So your market is Sarasota and Manatee counties alone, right?
Correct. We have 2 counties.
Yeah.
So they're exclusive distribution rights as well within your territory. So nobody outside can sell Anheuser-Busch within Sarasota and Manatee County. So like you said, if you've had a Budweiser
Quite
or Bud
literally,
Light, yes, in these 2 counties, it came from our warehouse.
So you can't walk us through the distribution model. I mean, obviously it's hard to get into and nearly impossible at this point, but what is the reason for a distribution center versus just, the gas station, the convenience stores, the Publixes, the, grocery stores of the world, just getting it directly from Anheuser-Busch? Well,
part of that's the 3-tier system, which comes into the Prohibition. So before Prohibition, there wasn't the 3 tiers, meaning the brewer, the wholesaler or distributor, and then the end retailer. What was happening is the brewers were basically controlling the whole market by buying the end bar, restaurant, or convenience store, so there was no competition, which led to all other legislative issues in why Prohibition came about. Okay. So once Prohibition, was over, they created the 3-tier system, which allowed a middleman, in a sense, the distributor, to be able to control the big supplier from controlling the retailer. So there's a lot of laws that we can and can't do. We can't give a bar or restaurant a cooler or a draft box. They have to purchase everything for us, or they see that we're buying their business, which would push us back into the years.
You can't basically incentivize them with goodies.
Correct. So that's why they have that 3-tier system. And that's why they couldn't just go ahead and go to Jacksonville Brewery and say, I want 20 cases and bring it back. It has to go through us and then through them. The other thing is they get the taxes from us.
Well, yeah, I mean,
so
that's of course the big thing.
They like the tax collection that comes out of us.
You used a key word that I think a lot of people misunderstand. You use the word middleman, right? And middleman, a lot of people think of it as, it's a middleman. I'm just getting charged more because there's someone else in between me and the producer. But in this situation, it's pretty obvious that the middleman has a huge and important role in keeping the whole system honest and protecting us from vertically integrated monopolies. Plus, they collect the taxes, which I'm sure the government...
We do. The other thing is that with the smaller craft brewers, they wouldn't even be in this market because the big brewers would keep them out. They would crush them if it wasn't for us to be able to have the ability to help them get their beer into the market.
You're gaining their distribution.
So it creates competition.
So is like the big tops, the Calusas, the Motorworks of the Sarasota area go through Gold Coast Eagle distributors too?
We do. We have Big Top and Motorworks.
You answered my question before I even asked it, because I was like, well, what about these smaller breweries that I see in Publix and I see it at different gas stations and such, but everything goes through you guys. What's funny about that?
They do get a cool exception though, the smaller ones, to have their own tap rooms, which...
Yes, you can have your own tap rooms where you can sell. And a lot of them do, and they actually have different brands that you're not going to see out in the market. So they don't mass produce everything that they have and sell in their brew pub. So it's really, it's great to go and visit because they'll change them out all the time.
And it creates kind of a cool culture and scene. If you go down to any of those places like Calusa or Motorworks or Big Top, you'll see some of the same people like a neighborhood bar, but then a lot of tourists love going.
Dude,
they're called drunks.
No, they're called beer connoisseurs. No, drunks don't go to breweries. The people that go to breweries are sophisticated beer drinkers, right? It's very different. Morgan, do you mind doing us a favor? She brought some gifts. I'm just curious to see what drinks they're distributing that we may have some access to. We'll just line them up here on the table. But while she's doing that, I was thinking about, I just heard something the other day, because it sounds like, alcohol companies, whether Anheuser, but whoever, had kind of a monopoly, right? I literally just heard the other day, guess what the percentage of people in our country love these? Those are so good. I said I'm not drinking this week, and then you bring one of those out. I'm like, maybe I'll have that.
There you go. That was quick.
Trey goes for the Bush Peach. I love it.
And they came out of a cooler?
And they came out of a cooler. Yeah, she came prepared.
I came prepared. How could you not talk about it if we
This
can't?
one's for Felipe. Felipe's beer of choice. This one's you. It's all you.
I'm a Bud Light drinker. But
Yes, you
Big
are.
time.
But guess what? Take a stab at what percentage of. We just lost our videographer. That's crazy. What percentage of people have an iPhone in the United States of America? Because, well, first of all, what's a monopoly in the United States of America? 50% or more market share,
No,
correct?
I don't
I
think that's a
don't
hard
know.
and fast definition. It really depends on markets and product
It
type.
does.
And
It
you know what
does.
I mean?
But guess what percentage of people own iPhones?
It's probably very high.
56%.
Oh, I was going to say 60.
The government's not messing with them right now.
Well,
but
you know,
they're going to
that's-
tax the crap
What do you think
out of
it's
this
Warren
stuff.
Buffett's number one holding in his portfolio? He said, "I'll never buy tech ever."
Yeah, exactly.
Probably said he would never get into insurance either, but that's another
But
discussion.
that's what it sounds like it happened, back in Prohibition, 1920, whenever that all happened. It's like they had a monopoly.
Correct.
Right? The government saw, well, this is alcohol, and so certainly there's got to be laws and red tape around it, which also means we've got to tax it, and now they're making a killing off of alcohol sales as well.
Yes, they are.
So what are some of the when you back up to generation one of your Gold Coast Eagle Distributors, how did that start? How did that transition? Walk us through some of that.
So really, like I said, it started back up in Detroit, where my dad's great grandfather, I got to get the generations correct there, was in the distribution industry itself and kind of dabbled it before, and then received the rights to be in a distributor right after Prohibition. From there, his father kind of took it and expanded it.
And that's like 10 employees, 20 employees,
right,
50
correct.
employees?
No,
Like
yeah.
just
10 to 20.
kind of regular old small
from
business.
there, and grew it and brought in more brands. And then as my dad grew and wanted to have his own, he basically bought bought a distributorship down in Raleigh, North Carolina.
Okay.
And that's where he started out on his own.
I have a question about the business as a whole.
Yeah.
So you guys get the distribution rights from Anheuser-Busch, say. Now, do you guys go acquire the landing spot for the beer as well, or do they direct you where to distribute to?
So, meaning like our territories
The
are
sales.
already.
Let's say Publix. Do you have to go
no,
sell to get them into Publix, or they sell rep from Bud Light to get the Bud Light into Publix and tell you where to send it?
Pretty much both, in
Okay.
a sense. So like a Publix is a chain. So they're controlled at a corporate office that says, yes, we're going to bring that product in.
Right.
That call is made from Anheuser-Busch. They have somebody that calls on them and says, okay, yes, we can bring in Busch Light Peach. It's a seasonal, but yes, you can bring it in. They tell us, yes, it's approved. Go ahead and bring it and place it in. If it's not a chain, which we call independents, the independents, we have the right to put anything that we want, obviously at the owner's discretion, and we can sell anything out of our portfolio
That's
into
what I was
there.
going to ask. The Anheuser-Busch doesn't have any control over the independents that you're working with.
Correct. No, they do not.
Which would be like a mom and pop bar.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, a big
Any
top.
mom
That's
and pop.
cool because then you can kind of really support local and not have to
Yes.
go through the corporate hoops of,
Yeah,
hey,
we
can we
would-
get these guys?
Exactly.
And it gives you a way to grow your business yourself, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So not to spotlight any one brand, but if you had to guess, or maybe what would be the biggest local brewery, biggest local independent that you guys are distributing?
Big Top and Motorworks.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So
You mean independent in terms of producers, not in terms of people who are consuming end product? Yeah.
Both.
Okay, interesting.
yeah, I mean the end product is being sold at a high level, so I'm assuming that would be the reason they're at the top.
Yep.
I love that. So now you take over, right? Kind of when did you take over and how did that happen?
Well, I came in, I've always actually worked in the business since I was a kid all the way up through high school. And then post-college, I came back to Sarasota. Ironically, I was a Gator. I'll go ahead and plug that for you. So came down from Gainesville. And at the time when I actually went to Florida, we were still up in North Carolina, so I just chose to come down here because I wanted to get away. And then, ironically, he purchased the business down here. So for me, it was
You
perfect.
said not so fast.
I did not want to leave
We'll
Florida.
meet you in
so
Sarasota.
I was
Yeah, right.
very pleased to come directly down
No
here.
doubt.
So I worked down here, and within the time frame, I earned the certification to be an Anheuser-Busch wholesaler. So met all of the criteria that they put you up against, got the letter of recognition, and then was able to become a part owner in the distributorship. From there, I took a leave of absence after my kids were born. I always say beer and babies didn't mix very well. Dad's, if you know him, can be a little bit demanding when it comes to attention and time, and I couldn't really do both very well, so I chose the babies, and then fortunately was able to come back after they were old enough, and they're kind of ignoring me now more than anything. So I needed something to do, so came back a couple of years ago.
How old are your kids now?
16 and 18.
So you mentioned if they were to get into the business, is any interest at this level or?
Yeah, actually, my son has interest. He's worked with us as well. He started sweeping the floors in the warehouse and building pallets and working with the guys. He did merchandising last summer where he goes into the public stores and the order in the back is dropped by the driver. He would go take that order and put it out into the shelves and stock the shelves. This summer, he worked with a convenience store salesman, so he learned all the technology, the iPads,
awesome.
how you ordered, the inventory, how to merchandise, order banners, make sure that the account looks right to sell the beer. So he did that this summer, and he's enjoying it. He sees the competition of it, and I think he likes the competition as well.
Yeah, you got to know every aspect of the business.
Yeah.
You brought up the iPad. How do you guys, in what ways do you use technology to improve an age-old business?
And it continues to change all the time. Software change. We do use iPads, and we use software that's kind of for the industry, beverage industry. One is M360. So you can do your ordering on there. We can do goal setting on there. You can take, pictures through it so that everything that you see in the store, we can see as a manager. So if we want to see what the store, if they hit their goal, we can go in there and look at it. We can physically see that the display was up or a tap was up and make sure that they get credit for what they've done in their sales. So, in the field, we use it primarily for that. That's and then, awesome. Of course, in-house, when the warehouse, we have other
You mentioned
softwares.
AI, so you have some AI type stuff working for you. What's that about?
Well, we haven't really gotten into AI, but a lot of the stuff, like in the warehouse, we're working with a consultant now because space is limited as we bring on more brands and, of course, sell more beer. The warehouse only gets so big. So, they're using technology to say, okay, this is what's going to happen over the years. This is the space that you're going to need. You're going to want a row of Bud Light cans here. And then over here, you're going to want the row of Bud cans. And basically lay out our whole warehouse and change it as the packages change. Wow. So as the SKUs come in and as the velocity changes, we can change our warehouse kind of right on a dime.
And it's not somebody guessing.
Correct, which is nice. So now we're going to take our space that we thought that we were going to have to expand, and now we can use it for probably another 6 to 8 years, which is huge when it comes to construction and cost and everything. So that was probably the biggest change that we've had this year. The other one in the warehouse is automation. So anything that you can do to reduce the ability or reduce the liability on labor is kind of where the industry is going, and it's where Sarasota is going.
Shout out to everyone who voted for minimum wage to raise.
Well, I love it when you get kind of the nuts and bolts of the business, because though you guys have a very specific niche, you're the only Anheuser-Busch certified distributor in the area, so it's essentially a monopoly in a certain way. Mm-hmm. You're just like any other business. You're doing inventory optimization, process optimization. Mm-hmm. You're managing relationships with all the different points of sale.
Correct.
And also actually moving the goods. And I hear you guys even clean lines at bars.
We do. So all of our draft lines are cleaned every 2 weeks, and we take care of it ourselves.
At every single bar that you distribute to?
Every single bar.
And that's for the Anheuser-Busch products, correct?
And that's for all of our products.
They do all lines, yeah.
Okay. So we also have
awesome.
we also
and
have
I don't have to worry about just because
Sure.
the bar's a little grimy. I don't have to worry about the beer being grimy coming out.
Those are usually our best ones.
Does Anheuser-Busch require you to clean their lines?
Yes. So we within the franchise agreement, and with most of our suppliers, it's the same. So like we have Constellation, which is Corona, Modelo, and Pacifico. It's all required to do it 2 weeks. It's also industry standard. Okay. And if we don't do it and the beer comes out and it doesn't taste right, then you're not going to buy it again. Right. So really it's for all of our benefit in a sense and to the consumer. If they're not clean, it tastes bad, then you're not going to sell any beer. So we police ourselves as well.
Modelo just took over as like the number one beer sold in the United States of America right now, believe it or not. I was shocked on that. Hey, listen, we're having a blast here getting to know Andrea and her business, Gold Coast Eagle Distributors. Get ready for the rapid fire questions.
I'm Andrea Saputo, and this is Rapid Fire. My grandparents, unfortunately, they have passed, but I would love 24 hours with them. Skydiving. Finances.
Show me the money.
I think with finances and numbers, it tells the true story. I think if you can look at them and see what's going on, then you can make educated guesses to grow your business.
Show me the money!
Does pineapple belong on pizza?
No.
Pineapple is rich in vitamins.
We don't care.
Beer. Ooh, that's a good one. Lake House in Michigan. Sage Lake in Michigan. Yes, but I'm not a movie watcher. So that's what I'm told. Superheroes. Yeah, they have superpowers.
And Hulk. Smash.
Oh my gosh. Gin and Juice by Snoop Dogg.
You know I'm just rolling down the street, smoking, sipping on gin and juice.
Boating.
We running this, let's go. I'm on a boat. I'm on a boat. Everybody look at me, cause I'm sailing on a boat. I'm on a boat.
So we talked briefly about the monopoly that, Anheuser-Busch or, the liquor companies had back in the day. But it seems like you have a little bit of a monopoly on just the Sarasota area, because basically if you want to carry, Anheuser-Busch in your bar or store, it goes through you. Correct. Is that correct?
Yes.
So what would you say, like, market saturation in Sarasota, Manatee County, speaking of getting nerdy on the business side of things, what's the market saturation look like for Gold Coast?
Well, I would say there's only a handful of accounts that we don't sell to that have a beer license. And some of them are a little bit usually more specialized, like they're only a German, so they only want this beer or that beer. But off the top of my head, and I'm sure they're out there, but I can't even name one that doesn't have a Budweiser or Bud Light or something of ours, even if it's just Modelo, because some are, just Modelo or Corona bars. We are in there.
I've often thought about getting a tap in the kitchen over here for agents, off hours, of course, only, but like maybe, I don't know, a Cutwater on tap or something. What do I have to go through to get something in my office?
she might know somebody.
We could probably hook you up with that. We have a couple reps out there that can make a stop by.
Yeah, there we go. Go ahead, Trey.
I lost my train of thought. Go ahead, Felipe.
He got excited about the keg being in the back room.
I'm curious. People don't understand the size and scope that it takes to have a business like yours in an area that's as big as this. I mean, Sarasota's around 1 million people between the two counties.
Let's start with this. How large is your warehouse?
So the total warehouse, which includes our office space and a hospitality room, is 170,000 square feet. It's 100,000 square feet of actual warehouse space where the product lives. And in our warehouse, if you want to get nerdy, as you could say, we're holding right now about 19 days of supply. So every
Holy
19
smokes.
days it turns over, which is about $10 million of product. Every 19 days. So it can actually get up a little bit higher in the season. They like to send us a little bit more to make sure that we have a cushion during the season when it gets a lot busier. And we can get up to more like $13 million in the warehouse that turns every 20 days.
Can you disclose how large your franchise is in these two counties compared to the others? I know there used to be a rank. I don't know.
Yeah, they're still kind of ranked. With a lot of consolidation going on, I'm not sure exactly where we land, but we were up there around 50 or 60. So we sell about 6.2 million cases a year. Now, that's total product that we have, and we have over 100 suppliers that we deal with. So we have waters and energy drinks and different liquors and RTDs that are out there. So we do have a large variety, but just in Anheuser-Busch terms, we're around that 50, 60 when it comes to
And how many are there total? Like a couple thousand?
450.
Okay.
So, but would it be fair to say then, based on the size of the area and what rank you guys are, Sarasota consumes more beer than most places in the country?
Per capita, it's
Per
doing
capita.
pretty well.
Yeah.
I mean, we do have to say that we have a pretty good tourist season here that brings in a lot of drinkers when you're on vacation. You know, we like to see them come and go. So
I mean, that's a huge 170,000 square feet. That's massive. So you guys obviously do. You mentioned you do tours and stuff, correct?
Yeah, we do. I mean, I just had EDC in the other day to take a tour just to see what we do, to see how that we could work together if they had any resources in the community that could help us.
And when you say EDC, we're talking the
Economic development.
Okay. All right. I didn't know if it was like that or the electric dance.
Electric Daisy
Like
Carnival.
maybe you're supplying the Electric Daisy Carnival with the beer and
While we're on that topic of supplying, you guys,
Sure.
that facility you have is obviously very unique. You built it.
Yeah, we did.
You use it for some other things that I think the community doesn't know and should know.
Yeah.
I'm talking mostly about the hurricane preparedness
do.
and also the hospitality center beer garden. If you elaborate on those things, I think that's pretty cool.
We have a hospitality center where we offer it to nonprofits and our customers if they need office space. So we can fit about 150 people in there, and it has kind of a rotunda, so to speak, or a beer garden in the center with a bar, so that we can do sampling, host guests that are just coming in, or if and they can utilize the bar. We usually donate the beer for their events and let them use the actual building itself for their nonprofits.
Sarasota SpeaX company party.
yeah.
After you get your keg.
You filed it as not 501c3,
We
right?
we can get one.
Okay,
we
need
can
to
get
change
one,
it
no
up.
problem.
If we get
Time
free
for-
beer, we don't need to be a for-profit company. It's a no-brainer.
I mean, you should. If you guys haven't been there, I've been there many
Definitely check
times.
it out.
You should see this place.
I'm thinking we do a Sarasota SpeaX tour, but just to enlighten us, for the podcast, let's walk through what a tour might look like, and then maybe if we get enough, views and comments and likes on this, we'll actually walk through and
We could do
video a tour.
We could do a tour.
That would be awesome.
Yeah. I mean, usually we start in the front office, and I like to show them kind of where the sales room and the training, and actually show them that we have over 200 employees, but if you look at our office space, they don't come in. They're out on the street. They're selling,
Right.
most of them. So you're not going to see really anybody in the office because they're already out deployed. Everybody gets in pretty early and then they go. But then we walk back through what we call our POS area. So kind of in the warehouse where you have all the point of sale. So anything that you can see from like football's coming. So we have helmets, big Bud Light, paper helmets
Fun
and
stuff.
stuff to use. Yeah.
Heck yeah.
The trinkets and all of those different things, and coolers and different things that are ready to use out into the market. But from there, we enter into basically the warehouse, and that's where you can see the rows of beer that's out there, and water and energy drinks. And it's pretty impressive because really every spot on that floor is filled, including racks. So we have racks that, will go up 3 high, that we're actually having to look at go 4 high just because of the capability and the way we're
Thanks to some
maxing
of that
out
automation,
on it.
right?
And with the automation, we
because
can
of
get
how
up a little
thirsty
bit more.
Sarasota
Thirsty, yeah.
is.
Thirsty. They're thirsty.
It's called the demand.
So yeah, you can walk through there, and then we have 11 docks, so that for loading and
Right.
unloading with the trucks that come in, and we receive from suppliers up until 3:00 every day. So I mean, they could come in at 3 in the morning if they wanted, but the cutoff is 3:00. Because at 3:00, then we have our night warehouse crew come in. All of our orders come in. At 5, they're routed, and then we have our night crew that sits there and picks all of the orders and then places them on trucks. Drivers will come in anywhere from 2:00 in the morning. Most of them they're all out by 7,
Right.
and they're deployed out for the rest of the day, and that's when the day crew will start receiving trucks in. So
Logistics.
It's a big deal.
Well-oiled machine.
Yeah.
yeah,
it's
there's
giving
a
me
lot of
headache thinking
logistics,
about it.
behind it.
All
So-
it takes is one person to screw up.
Well, there's 200 employees.
Yeah.
So,
So there's always there's one always.
yeah, I can imagine. I mean,
Our,
that's
our one here, daily, Felipe. 15 minutes late.
logistically, there's the issue. I love you, Felipe, but I did beat you here today, even though I was running late. I was still almost on time. That's exciting. I think we should definitely do a tour. I think we should
Yeah.
definitely get Eric to walk through there with a camera, do a
Sure.
tour.
Love to have you.
That would be sweet. With the use of the bar area and the garden room, you guys do that for like companies or just for nonprofits?
Really just
or
for
what is that?
nonprofits.
And you guys use that for your own company
We
Christmas
do.
parties and stuff
well,
like that?
Well, yeah, we use it internally quite often. But then if it's available and somebody wants to book it for Easter Seals was just in to have their staff meeting. So they brought in people from all over and they had their staff meeting in there on Monday. So different things like that they can utilize.
And let's not forget, they're also donating the beer when they do that.
Yeah, that's
to the
huge.
nonprofits. So let's put it this way: they're well known in the nonprofit community around here, and for good reason. They do a great service for us. Few places have a facility like that, so I
Yeah.
think that's something to be recognized.
Well, I appreciate that. Yeah, we always like to support the community. I mean, you grow the community, you strengthen the community.
Amen.
They're going to support you back. So
What a great guest to have on to the Sarasota Speaks
you.
podcast too. The what other nonprofits and things are you doing in the Sarasota community that you can speak on?
myself personally, I help my sister with one of her. She has a nonprofit, which is the Vision Foundation. The Vision Foundation is based out up in Manatee County, but they basically give. She's an optometrist. Her and her husband are an optometrist. The eye center up there, but they give free eye care and glasses, or help get children that might need a second pair of glasses or might need a special surgery that isn't provided for them under their insurance. So it's giving them free care when the need is there. So I help them organize their fundraiser.
What's
for
the name
that.
of it?
The Vision Foundation.
Are you familiar with the Lighthouse of Minnesota? It's something very similar. I don't know if they're related.
I have
or
heard
not.
of them, but I don't know much about
Anyways,
them.
we
now.
did the
I'm
roof there. So
Oh,
Trey knows
so
the
I
whole
was
community.
supposed to kind of say no, wasn't I, on that one?
Anyways, we did the roof there.
yeah,
All right. So, you said it wasn't off limits, so we got to talk about it. I'm just curious what
You look nervous, Brad.
We've
Yeah, I
seen.
know.
No, I'm not nervous. I'm never nervous. I'm just always red. That's my color. We've got black, white, and red. We said we got it all covered here.
Here we go.
And today, we're not so bro since we brought.
my
up
mom
an
watches
amazing
this,
female
Brad.
guest. First of all, let me. Well, then it's a good thing we have Eric editing the content, right? What's great. I want to just compliment you first of all too, and just say that the reason that we brought you on today is because we've got a lot of feedback that we're too bro, and we said, listen, we need to bring in women that are doing big things in the community, and your name came up pretty quickly with Felipe. So
Thank you.
I joke that it's great to have a female guest on, but it's not just because you're female, it's because you're female and doing some amazing things locally. But the Bud Light controversy, that's what I wanted to talk about.
problem.
You're seeing up to the controversy, you're seeing Bud Light fly off the shelves at X rate. Okay, then we have something else happen, and obviously it's a microcosm of what their whole distribution is. But you should be able to see it if there was an impact. Did you see anything like that locally?
Yeah. Oh yeah, we felt it and are still feeling it. I mean, the reality is the whole backstory is it was one can sent to an influencer. Fox News got a hold of it and made it act like it was a whole campaign. Right. It was paid. It was this. It was that. But it really was that one can that was reached out. It wasn't supposed to be a marketing thing. But I actually think that in a general society, they just caught on to it and pushed back on that.
The internet is so scary.
Correct. And it's fine. Everybody's fine to have their opinion on it. But when it comes to us, it's a little bit difficult because we're the distributor. We have no say in what the marketing, so to speak, is going to go out there.
Right.
It's not that we knew that it was going to hit, and yet it affects us because it's affecting us locally. It's affecting our local market, and it's affecting our 200 plus employees and their families.
Yeah.
So for that reason, it's disappointing. I get what they were trying to, a beer for everybody, and I understand that, bringing people together, and they have that. But locally, it did affect us. So, like you said, yes, we were running a pretty decent. Well, for Bud Light, it's a big tank. So when you get it going, you got to keep it going here. But we were pretty much flat, which was a good thing for us at the beginning of the year, up 1%. And honestly, we're down 30% on the brand.
Just specifically Bud Light.
Just specifically Bud Light. So that equates to about 135,000 cases.
Wow.
So
well,
that's where the
appreciate your
turnaround
candidness
happened.
on that. That's
and
awesome.
Yeah, it is disappointing because, if it's a beer. That's all it is.
Now let me ask you. So, the decrease in sales, the decreases in cases, how does that affect your employees? Did you have to lay people off because of that?
We haven't
Did people
had-
quit because of that? Because their numbers are down if
Yeah.
they're paid commission based?
You know, fortunately, we have a diverse portfolio. So
what I
we
was
do
thinking,
have the Modelo portfolio that is on a huge increase. We're running a 23% increase
There you
with
go,
them.
yeah.
So that has kind of made up for the volume loss, along with we brought in waters and energy drinks and different things in our portfolio that are fueling it. Our guys are commission-based, the ones on sales. And so they did feel it within their wallet. They're not making their volume goals. So we've had to adjust internally the way that we were structured our volume goals and different things, and look at creative ways to just say, look, now let's just get an increase. From last month. We're now not fighting our numbers from last year when it comes to Bud Light. We're just saying, let's try to get an increase back from last month.
Right.
And try to divert it out. So as an owner, it's expensive because you got to keep your team motivated. You don't want them to lose any income for something they didn't do. You know, even though we didn't do it either, we still want them. We have not laid anybody off. We have no intentions of laying anybody off. And I have to say that we're pretty fortunate that we're able to do that, because I'm not so sure other distributors are in that
Yeah.
same boat. The ones that aren't diversified, they have, and I have heard because I've talked to them, and they've had to lay people off.
Yeah, I
and
can
that's very
imagine.
sad as a family business to have to let somebody go and they did nothing wrong.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
The the business itself, kind of segueing away from that, because it's a great topic, but you covered it fully, so we don't have to. I mean, that's
Well,
that's
can I
everything.
just
Sure, go
can I
ahead.
just
He's
I
got
don't want to let that go.
No, go for it.
Not because
Pounce on it,
But
Felipe.
nobody
He can't. He
Go on,
can't.
dig.
Nobody has given. I haven't read a ton on that, but I've read probably more than the average person on the Budweiser situation, just because it's publicly traded and
Yeah.
affects
Right.
other things that I invest in. Right? You know, nobody has given that answer. So maybe their PR team is just horrible, but I've never heard that a couple of cans to an influencer scenario.
Yeah.
But I think it was also not in everybody's interest to even want to hear that, because they would rather make one marketing situation, whether you think it's an error or not, this whole larger conspiracy. That just gets eyeballs, and you're fighting against the internet.
It does. And
was
your
here for
fight,
too long.
your fight, he couldn't take it. He had to open it. It does fight it. And I think that's just the way media is going to be driven from here on out. I would say that the industry itself has learned a big lesson. I think corporations have learned a lesson from it. Unfortunately, I think we're going to be in college marketing books, and it is going to be a piece in there that you need to stick to your roots, understand your
Yeah.
customer, don't deviate from that. Bud Light was a fun brand. It is a fun brand, and that's all it needed to be.
Right.
Keep it the way it is. Keep with your core consumer.
Don't try to do too much. Right?
Exactly.
But it's also interesting because you guys managed to anger people on both sides of
We did.
a contentious
Oh.
issue. So like, who won in this? Nobody.
Why touch it?
Nobody.
Well-
Actually, the loser is the one in the middle that's like, I just
Yeah.
want to drink my Bud Light in
No,
peace.
no,
Can I stop talking about it and being
I'm that
ridiculed
guy.
for it?
I'm the Bud
You
Light
just-
drinker. I'm the winner. Because I was getting Bud Light for 50%
Yes,
off
you
for a few
were.
months.
You
I'm like, come on.
I started ordering it just because everybody else is making
Throw
so much
RuPaul
noise.
on a Bud Light can.
just
I
to-
don't care.
Plus, I obviously love supporting you guys.
I
Your dad and my
appreciate
dad
that.
have known each other a
Yeah,
really
they
long
have.
time, so I try not to be seen in public drinking a beer with a label on it unless it's
Oh, well.
one of your products.
He'll call you out. He'll
But
find you.
he will. He
That's
was good
such
at
a
that.
crock of shit. He
He'll
never
find
drinks
him.
Bud Light. I always drink Bud Light, and he goes for the snobby stuff.
Well, let's just.
I
I
brought
mean,
her some
he's
of
a
that.
Tito's and soda guy anyway.
I take the label off.
He's
Trey.
got no label. He's got a glass with Tito's and soda, and there's no label on those anyways. So
Tito's.
fine,
Get out of here.
or whatever. The segue that I was making though is I know very little on distribution companies. I know a lot on distribution, but when it comes to like a Cisco brand, I know they have like almost subcontractors or small business owners that are running their routes and doing their things as Felipe hides his drink. Everyone knows you're drinking it, Felipe. Just drink it, right? He's going back to work after this too. Don't worry. Is that how your model is set up? Is do you have like people that have certain routes or like certain ownership
we do.
of things?
We do. So we have about 35 routes that run a day. And the the drivers really, they have their own routes. So they know their customers. It's the same, going to the same delivery person. So they know how the back rooms they like. So, you could walk into a racetrack and then understand that the manager wants things placed this way. So we do
Right.
try to keep consistency, the same driver and even with the same salesman.
Do they own that route? Like, did they
They
buy
don't-
that route or
No, they don't own the route.
I
Because
guess
I know
you're
like a
saying-
bread
I
truck,
Yeah,
like a
I
bread
see
truck
what you're
route.
It's not
saying.
like a Pepsi truck is probably the best
Yeah.
example, right?
Yeah.
And other venues, the
Yeah,
trucks
you
are owned
see
by
the route for
individual
sale, you can buy the
contractors.
route because you know you can
Exactly.
make some.
Yeah, no, it's not like that.
Okay. I was just curious, but it does make sense to have everybody on the same routes, seeing the same people,
Yes.
going to the same stores, and
Yes.
building those relationships.
Yep.
So that's awesome. Anybody else want to ask a fucking question here?
4 generations. You said, right? 4 generations, or is it 5? 5. Well, do you want to make it 5? Do your children
I
have
would like to
interest
make
in the
it
business?
5. Yeah. So hopefully, my son says that he's still interested. I always tell him he's going off to school, so I always tell him the opportunity's there if you want it. You need to choose what you want to do. So if you find something along the way that you discover that you would like to do and it really interests you, then go for it, buddy. I mean, I support that 100%. But if not, it's here. And if that's what you want to do, come into it. I have nieces and nephews as well. So as they get older and if there's interest with them, then, the business is always there for the family.
But I think one thing a lot of people don't understand, they see your amazing facility and they say, and they know the fact that you guys essentially have the distribution monopoly on Budweiser and some associated products in the area, right? I'm not using that as a bad word here. So they think, they don't understand how much hard work it is.
Yeah, it is a lot.
It's not an easy business. It's hard work. It's time consuming. They're operating 24 hours, and also the margins are thin. I mean, relatively, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you need to really
It's
move
volume.
cases. It's
You
a
have to
volume
move
business.
cases. It's a volume business.
And it's
It
not
is.
like a roof tray.
Well, by my
No.
by my estimations, they're well over $250 million in annual revenue. So
I did the quick math too.
doing something right.
But, I also love, the whole alcohol product category. Obviously, for some people that might be off-putting, but for some people it has the opposite effect. There's a very prominent mutual fund called the Vice Fund that invests in liquor, tobacco, firearms, stuff like that. And the reason it's become so popular over the years is because these areas, these leisure vices, et cetera, are recession-proof. I mean, what happens when we have a downturn? People
The
may
sales
drink
go up.
People may drink a little bit less Bud Light, but they're drinking more Natty Light.
You say recession-proof. Some other people might say addictive.
Right.
We're essential.
Essential
Very
service.
essential.
We
Yeah.
were,
Really?
we were essential through COVID. So, no, it is true. It is a bit recession-proof in that sense. And people do tend to still drink. They do find deals. I mean, they're going to probably go down, and if they need to, they might go down to a natural or a Busch Light, and they might not buy that Stella, or they might not buy that Corona. But pretty much volume-wise, you can stay pretty flat, or maybe a slight decrease, which is very normal in those times. So.
I was going to say, how did COVID affect your business? But I'm so glad that we're beyond those times and we don't
Me
really
too.
have to even go back into
so
that.
glad.
And so,
it's not.
in deviating from that, what's the future look like from Gold Coast or for Gold Coast? You've mentioned several times
Yeah.
staying flat, so it seems like it's just maintaining is kind of the goal right now. But
Well, she said she stayed flat because she took the dip with Anheuser, but
Right.
they were
Made
trying
it
to
up.
grow.
Made it
So
up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
One
A
of
lot more
these
people are
ones-
noticing
Yes.
Modelo now, huh?
Yes,
Yeah,
they're
but so
noticing
with the
Mandela.
distribution, you can piggyback off of your relationships you made with the community,
Exactly.
right? So you want to add as many that she can handle. Is that the idea?
Absolutely. I mean, we already have the relationships with our retailers.
Yes.
And we have proven that we're good distributors. So suppliers will come to us and they'll ask, not some of them, or say, would you like to distribute? Or we'll reach out to them and say, hey, listen, there's our opportunity for us to do it. That truck's going to that same stop. The more we can put on that
Yeah.
truck
Yes.
and deliver to one stop, the more that,
The better for the business, the better for the
Absolutely.
sales rep, the better for the delivery guy.
yes, correct. So, I mean, for the future for us, obviously there's a ton of growth still going out east, which we're going to capitalize on just from people moving down here. We want to keep tourism strong because the influx of the couple million people per year really does drive do or die or sales. We've seen this summer because I think the tourists did not come like they did in the last 3 years.
Yeah.
They've gone elsewhere because they're able to. We've gone back to a normal season. And it's kind of funny to see because our people kind of got used to that all year round of the sales, and now we kind of took that dip and we're looking at it in different ways, saying, oh, we're actually having a true season again. So now we're back to normal. This is our new normal. So now we're just going to fight, like I said, the sales numbers from the last month. Let's just get an increase from July into August.
Well, you have an interesting perspective too, because we often talk about the growth in Sarasota and how you feel that's going to do for your business and things like that. With you, it's like way too obvious. I mean, every new bar, every new restaurant,
but you can quantify it a lot more easily. Pop up another restaurant, get another liquor license. Let's go.
Trey's like, these communities, they're going to have new roofs, and then 30 years from now, we'll be able to put a new roof on, or 20 years.
I'm more of a long game.
You're like, bam, they're opening a restaurant.
But I will say, the negative is the traffic. I mean, it is what it is. We have to get to these establishments. So as the traffic increases and gets worse, and I'll just bring up your roundabouts. I mean, they put in
the roundabout questions.
Whoa.
Time out.
Whoa.
You spin my head right round when you go down.
This segment on roundabouts is brought to you by Tominator Law. If you've been in an accident on a roundabout, on the highway, downtown Sarasota, anywhere in Sarasota, make sure you reach out to Tom. He's going to get you the compensation you deserve. All right, so you brought up the traffic that the people who are the transplants that are moving here
The transients.
And the way that the city's trying to combat that, it seems, is with more roundabouts. It's a hot topic on our show. We wanted to see what your thoughts were on roundabouts, whether you love them, you hate them, you're indifferent. Hopefully you love them or hate them.
Personally, I'm indifferent.
Stop.
However, if you want to talk about the business end of it, our trucks going around roundabouts that they make too small, we do not enjoy them. We do not like them.
How many accidents do you think you've had?
Fortunately, we haven't had any on a roundabout.
All right. So
But I will tell you that we can cut off the corner of a roundabout in a heartbeat, and you do not want to be in the way when we come around in those trucks.
Yeah, you might break some bottles. Break some bottles.
Little Kirby Cathy's out there.
Kirby Cathy's.
Hey, let's put the city council on notice. Those artwork that are planned for all the middle of those roundabouts.
They might get taken out.
A truck might have something to say about that plan.
They try to avoid the roundabouts because they know it's just it doesn't.
They're
work
unavoidable.
well for them.
They're literally unavoidable. How do you go from Fruitville to get onto St. Armand's?
Well, you have to.
You can't. That's a big
those
one.
are different, but that one
very, very
size is okay. But you're not going to go down Honore
or Bee Ridge extent. Like Bee
some
Ridge.
of those areas you're going to have to avoid.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, so usually the take on this show is that the double lane roundabouts are a little bit tougher to navigate than the single lanes, but she's bringing a different perspective, whereas a single lane, it's just, you can't
too
fit.
difficult for too difficult for the big trucks. Well, we always like to, end with, anybody that in the community. Sometimes it's a struggle for guests to think of a few names, and we're lucky to have like 2 or 3. So that's fine. I know you could probably rattle off a list of like 20 people pretty easily. But if you were, a viewer out there, which clearly you are, she knew the roundabouts, right? I love that. If you were a viewer out there, who do we need to introduce to the Sarasota community? Because as Felipe always says, if you don't know them, you don't know them, and need to know them.
A lot of it, I think it's maybe just the industry that I'm in is.
We're good with that. We can stay on that track. So
okay.
Bar owners, restaurant, anybody that's doing big things that we should talk to.
A mom and pop, and that's what you want to hear. The struggles that they may have, and you can talk to people out there on, say, Longboat, just trying to get their employees out there, and somebody, with the traffic, and when do they bring them out in the season and being seasonal. To hear that perspective of really how hard it is, in a sense, to get labor here, and how hard it is to get a sense to stay here with the way the house pricings are going and those types of things, because they give a lot better perspective. I mean, we're 200 plus people, so if we have one person call out, we're already prepared for that. I mean, you have to at that size. If they're the ones, they're cash register, they're hostessing, they're waiting tables, they're doing it all, and it affects them so much more than it does the bigger companies with that.
Agreed. We feel it, but specific names. So on that
first and last
topic,
name,
some specific,
business
maybe
name.
2 or 3 people that wouldn't mind you, calling them out and would probably love the opportunity to come on the show. A couple of specific names.
You want specific names, huh?
I could name people who I know that who I think would be right.
And
No,
I would
we-
probably agree
I
with
We
think-
want her. We
No, go
want
ahead,
her
Felipe.
names. We
Let's
want
go
her
ahead.
names.
I'm just trying to get it
Let's-
started.
Yeah,
Get
no,
the
go
juices
ahead,
flowing,
go.
right?
Please stop mansplaining.
I do have to say this is 2 in a row where when we asked the guests to call out a couple of people, they were like, "Oh, you want me to call someone out, huh?" Before that, people are just rattling off names like no big deal.
You got to change the verbiage.
Yeah.
Do you have a
Well-
few names you might suggest to come on the show?
My first suggestion would probably be John Horn.
John Horn would be a great
Right.
one.
Just
And-
great
and-
guy. Just opened a new place in University, Anna Marie Oyster Bar. What I have 4 or 5 now.
Yeah.
And they got
And they're-
robots serving food.
They're
It's great.
expanding a lot more. My other one was Mike Evanoff with Evie's, and
course,
the
yeah.
other reason is because he's with the initiative of Midnight
Midnight
Pass.
Pass, yeah.
So, I mean,
He's
for
on the
him,
roster.
I think people need to hear what's really going on and get behind that. I mean, it's also an environmental thing that we've supported with them as well. So, twofold. I mean, that's an educational thing when it comes to what's going on within kind of the politics as
time.
well, trying to get the grants and get that opening and the funding for that.
Agreed.
So.
You know, I kind of have
tackle.
a random community question. How much do these events? You know, we've lost a few events in our area, like Thunder by the Bay. How much did you notice that affect business downtown during that time?
Well, they moved Thunder by the Bay to Robarts,
Mm-hmm.
so the event still happens, and I think it draws different types or more people in reality, but different ones. So downtown, you would get people that would just come in. So
The drinkers.
and then they would stay, and they would actually kind of give a bump to the downtown area at the time. Now, it is during season, so there's a lot of stuff going on, so they don't feel it. But when it was downtown, you know, they would go to the festival, but then they would end up into the bars and restaurants there. And I always thought that was a great way to boost the downtown community. They kind of got pushed out of there, and they ended up at Robarts. Now, with Robarts, I have a much bigger location. They're able to bring in more vendors. They're able to bring in more people from out of town. So economically, I'm not sure if it affects any different. I think it just hits different people. Like you're going to have more of more of your biker type people that want to go and or whoever want to see the bands. Where I think downtown people just kind of filter in downtown, and they don't even if they're not into
Just
bikes,
happen to be
they'll just filter in and enjoy the festival.
Because I know you guys always have a very good presence at any event we
We do.
have, right?
Yeah,
So, what do you like to do for a good time in Sarasota?
I enjoy the water. I like being outdoors and in the water. Right now, you have to be in the water if you want to be outdoors.
doubt.
So I did that last weekend, which was great on a boat. And most of my time, really free time, is usually spent with the kids. One's graduated and going to college, but I mean, their sports during season is always. I mean, there's always a sporting event somewhere in a game or a tournament or something like that. So that's most of my free
Lacrosse, right?
time. Lacrosse and football. Yeah,
That's right.
So yeah.
Awesome. Well, we so appreciate you coming on again. You know, your name was at the top of any female doing big things in the area, so it was a lot to learn about the business and exciting stuff. We can't wait to do the tour and welcome you back soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Andrew. Appreciate it.
Yeah.